Hello and welcome to another video. So today's video is an unhaul. So if you have watched my most recent vlog that would have come out a few days before this, you will know that I rearranged my bookshelves. They still look hella cluttered, however they are now only filled with books that I still want. And let me tell you, I have got rid of a lot of books. I will do a count at the end and let you know. But there's a lot here. So I am going to separate this into different sections. So we are going to go with special editions or book boxes that I am getting rid of first. And then we're going to do books that I have read and either have DNF'd or completed but will not read again. And then we're going to go with books that I just have not read and I doubt I will get to. So let's start with the book box books and special editions. So first up we have the collector's editions of Red Queen and Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. I don't believe they are continuing the collector's editions for this series, and therefore I am going to unhaul these two because I don't want to have an incomplete set, and I do have them all in paperback, so it's not a massive big deal that I can't complete this collection in collector's edition. But it is a shame because these are hella pretty. Next up we have The Lives of Saints by Leigh Bardugo. So I actually had 2 copies of this. So I pre-ordered the Waterstones signed edition and I pre-ordered the Illumicrate edition. So the Illumicrate edition was not signed. So what I've done, I've swapped them so that I can have the dust jacket from the Illumicrate edition on a signed copy. So I'm going to get rid of my unsigned copy, which is just a standard edition. Next up we have some Book Box Club books. So first up we have Outwalkers by Fiona Shaw. I did really enjoy this book when I read it. It's a dystopian and it is really good. However, I just don't think I will reread it. And if I ever get the urge to, I can either borrow it from the library or I will just buy a paperback copy. But this is a really good book. It's just a case of I don't think I'll reread it. Then we have The Beckoning Shadow by Catherine Blair and Paris by Starlight by Robert Dinsdale. Again, I don't think I'm going to read these, so there's no point in them being on my shelf because this has been on a few TBRs now and I've just not got to it. So yeah. Then we have some Litjoy editions. So first up we have The Fascinators by Andrew Eliopoulos. I have read this and I did like it. However, the way it's ended leaves it wide open for a sequel, completely wide open. However, there are currently no plans that I can find of it being anything other than a standalone, and therefore I do not want to keep it because I don't want an incomplete set. And if it does turn out to be a series, I can just either borrow it or buy it again on paperback. And then we have Soul Swift by Megan Bannon and Sisters of Sword and Song by Rebecca Ross, which again, Litjoy editions, they're stunning. However, I just don't think I will read them. They just don't seem like my sort of books, which is unfortunate because this one especially is absolutely stunning. Then we move on to the only Owlcrate edition I own, and that is Mirage by Samaya Dowd. I absolutely adore this book. However, it has had a cover change and this is no longer the cover of the sequel. I am very excited for the sequel and I will be getting the sequel, but I think I will also purchase Mirage in the new covers as well because I am a sucker for a matching set and it won't match if I keep this one. So I'd like it to go to someone who would actually like this edition. Then we have 2 Illumicrate editions. One of them hasn't even really come out of the bag. I took it out just to look and have a little nose. So this is Seven Devils by Elizabeth May and Laura Lamb. I am going to sell my Illumicrate edition because I was sent a standard hard copy, like hardback copy by the publisher, so I'm going to keep that one and read that one instead. So I don't see the point in keeping 2, and as gorgeous as this edition is, I know there are a lot of people who would really love this edition, so I don't need to keep it. And then we have The Midnight Lie by Marie Rutkowski, which again is an absolutely stunning edition, but I don't think I'll read this one at all. So yeah, those two are going. And then we have Fairy Loot. So first up we have Wicked Fox by Kat Cho. I really enjoyed this book, and I am looking to get this and the sequel in paperback, because I just don't see the point in keeping the hardback when it takes up a hell of a lot more room, and I won't be able to get like a proper matching copy of the sequel. So this one's gonna go. But I did really enjoy this book. It's amazing. And then we have 3 Fairy Loot ones that I have not read and I don't think I will read. So we have Shielded by Kaylin Flanders. It's an absolutely stunning book, but I just don't think I'll get around to reading it. Then we have 8 Will Fall by Sarah Harrion. It sounds really good, but I haven't heard many good reviews about it, and I just, again, don't see myself getting to it anytime soon, so I'm not going to hold on to it. And then the final special edition we have is Forest of Souls by Laurie M. Lee. This does sound like a really good book, and usually I would say this sounds like right up my street. However, it involves a Spider King and there are like spiders on the dust jacket and stuff, and massive phobia of spiders, and I am not going to enjoy this if it has spiders in it. So unfortunately this is not one for me. So now we move on to books that I have read and I'm getting rid of. So first up we have the first 3 books in the Ember in the Ashes series by Sabaa Tahir. Now this is one of my absolute favourite series, and the only reason I'm getting rid of these is because I am getting the Fairy Loot editions. I have ordered them and they will be shipped, I think, in the next couple of months, and that will be all 4 of the books. So I do not see the point in keeping the paperbacks when I am going to have them absolutely gorgeous hardbacks, which are the exact same cover, they're just prettier. So yeah, these are going because I am trying not to do doubles, says the person who has 4 editions of Chain of Iron on the way next month. Next up we have the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor, which, same thing with Ember in the Ashes. I have the Illumicrate editions on the way. I already have Daughter of Smoke and Bone, and I have ordered the 2nd and 3rd book. So I'll have the complete trilogy in hardback soon. So I do not see the point in keeping the paperbacks. Also, these were bought from a charity shop and they are all very, very battered when I got them. And if you know me, I like my books to be practically perfect. So I don't like these being on my shelves. They've been on a shelf that's like hidden because it stresses me. So these are going for that reason alone. But I do love, I've only read the first book, but it is incredible and I love it. Next up we have Angel Mage by Garth Nix. I did read this and I did really enjoy it. However, it is my least favourite Garth Nix book that I have read, and I do not think I will reread it. So and this is quite a chunky one, so I can't justify keeping it when it's taken up that much space, and I'm not going to reread it. So this one's going. Then we have the entire Fallen series by Lauren Kate. Now I have read the first book. That's the 5th book. I have read the first book in this series and I did enjoy it. However, I know for a fact this is not going to be a series that I reread, and as this is my friend Charlie's, like, it's one of her, I don't know if it's one of her favourite series, but she absolutely loves it, and she has said that when I want to continue the series I can just borrow them off of her. So this series is going because it is quite a chunky series when you look at it like this, especially since they're like mishmash of sizes. So yeah, that's the only reason they're going. Then we have the full Divergent series by Veronica Roth. Now, I have a very, very love-hate relationship with this series because I read this whole series years ago and I absolutely loved Divergent and Insurgent. And then Legion, I want to throw off of a cliff because I absolutely hated it. And 4 is literally just Divergent from 4's point of view. So I did enjoy it, but I'm not going to reread this series because as far as I'm concerned, Allegiant does not exist. So this series is going for that massive reason. Next up, we have two books by Hester Fox. So we have The Widow of Pale Harbour and The Witch of Willow Hall. I have read The Widow of Pale Harbour. I did enjoy it, however, I will not read it again. And I have had The Witch of Willow Hall longer than I've had this, and I've still not read it. And I don't see myself getting to it anytime soon. However, this is actually one that my mum's having a few of these, and this is one that these are ones that my mum is having. So if I do change my mind, I want to read it, it's still in the same house as me. Then we have Alex and Eliza by Melissa de la Cruz. This one is going to my friend Kelly. So this is based off of Alexander Hamilton and Eliza Schuyler, which if you've seen the musical Hamilton, you'll know who these characters are. However, this is very, very different to the musical, and I don't think I'll ever reread it. However, I am intrigued to finish the series, so I did not hate it. I'm probably never going to reread it again. And I know for a fact Kelly will love this. So then we have The Secret Deep by Lindsay Galvin. I got this one at Yalk a few years back, and it's a middle grade mermaid type story, and I did really enjoy it, but again, it's just a case that I won't reread it. Then we have Other Words for Smoke by Sarah Marie Griffin. This was gifted to me by my friend Charlie, who DNF'd it, and I did finish it and I did enjoy it. I gave it 3 stars. However, I will not reread this, unlike the author's other book, which I adored and will reread, but this one just isn't one that will stick with me. So it's going, which is a shame, because look at those edges. I'm a sucker for a pretty book. Then we have Sisters Red by Jackson Pierce. This was a really interesting book. I did really like it. It's werewolves, but I just, again, will not reread it. Next up we have The Christmasaurus by Tom Fletcher. I absolutely adore this book. This is a 5-star for me. However, I've never read this copy. I have this book and the sequel in hardback. And again, it is just a case of I don't need multiple copies when I don't have space for them. So as pretty as the paperback is, I'm not keeping it. Then we have Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. I bought this edition for 50p in a charity shop a couple of years back, and then by the time I actually got around to wanting to read the series, I realised these are not the new covers, and I bought a box set of the new covers, so this one is going. Don't ask me how I ended up with 2 copies of this, but Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. I really enjoyed this. This is the first 2 books in the Rhaenyra Revelations. It's 2 books in one. I ended up with 2 copies, but they're both very battered, and I don't want battered books on my shelf, so these 2 are going. Next up we have Dragon Slayer and Knight of the Silver Circle by Duncan M. Hamilton. These are the first 2 books in a trilogy. I am very excited to read the 3rd book. However, these are not books I will reread, unfortunately. However, look at those covers, and the 3rd book's cover is also beautiful. But I won't reread these, so these are going, and I will be borrowing the 3rd book. I'm pretty sure the 3rd book is available on Scribd, so I'll be checking it out there. Then we have The Library of the Unwritten by A.J. Hackworth. I loved this book, and I'm very excited to get to the sequel, which I have an e-book version of. However, again, this is another one I'm not going to reread, or it's very unlikely I'm going to reread, so this one goes in the unhaul pile. Then we have Broken Throne by Victoria Aveyard. This book is actually one of my favourite books. However, I only got this when it first came out because I needed to read it then and there, and I did. I started it like the day after I got it. However, I have the whole series in paperback, so I'm going to be replacing this copy and getting myself the paperback so that I have a matching set. So yeah. Then we have the Lord of the Rings trilogy and The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. I've always wanted to read these, and then I got this set, and I still have not read Return of the King. But to be honest, I listened to the audiobooks of these. The plan was to read along with the audiobook, but I ended up just not reading along, so the books never actually got read by me, but I did buy these secondhand, so it's not like I spent out a lot of money on them. So hopefully these can go to someone who will love them, because I'm definitely more of a fan of the films, unfortunately, for the books. Next up we have The Island by M.A. Bennett. I have read this and I did enjoy it. Again, it's not one I'll reread. However, I'm also getting rid of Stags by M.A. Bennett, which I have not read. However, the things I've heard about it, I do not think I'm going to enjoy this, so I'm just not going to end up picking it up. Again, I got these signed at Yalk, so these are signed and personalised to me, unfortunately, but oh well. Now we're going to move on to DNFs that I'm getting rid of. So you'll likely know that I DNF'd The Iron King by Julie Kagawa. Along with that, I am also getting rid of The Lost Prince by Julie Kagawa, which I believe is the first in the next trilogy or series in this world. So I'm not going to read these. I've DNF'd that and I'm not going to read this. So these are going. And then this is an unpopular opinion, but I DNF'd Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. I really wanted to love this. I've never heard anyone say anything bad about it, and I just don't think it was for me, unfortunately, which was heartbreaking because I had such high hopes for this because it's a classic that everyone loves, but unfortunately not for me. Okay. Now we move on to books I have not read. This one might take a bit longer. So first up we have Catching Stars by Kayla Keenan. I really wanted to read this one. However, I have not long found out that apparently this series is not being continued. Therefore, I do not want to start this knowing I'll never get an end or any type of sequel. So unfortunately this one is on the go pile. Then we have Legend Born by Tracy Deonn. Now this is a weird one because I'm very excited for this book. However, I ended up with 2 copies. So I pre-ordered this and then Illumicrate included it in one of their boxes as a bonus book 2 months after it was released. So I was a bit confused about that because if they were going to do that, you would think they would have done it in the month it was released, but they did 2 months later, so I ended up with 2 copies. But this is going to my friend Charlie because she likes the sound of this. So at least I know that my double is going to someone. But that is the only reason this one's going, because I do have another copy on my shelves. Then we have books 5, 6, 7 and 8 in the Primeval series. These are different authors. I love the Primeval series, and I'm going to be completely honest, the only reason I started buying these hardbacks is because one of them has Connor on the front and he's my favourite character. So I am getting rid of these because I cannot find the hardbacks of books 1 to 4 anywhere, so makes me really sad. Then we have Spin the Dawn by Elizabeth Lim. I think I've upset Liv with this because this is one of her favourite books. However, I keep putting it off and it makes me think that I just don't want to read it, which is weird because it sounds right up my street. I just keep putting it off and I'm not going to keep it on my shelf if I'm going to keep putting it off as long as I have been. So I'm sorry, Liv. Then we have Thorn by Intizar Kanani. If I've pronounced that wrong, I'm really sorry. This came in a book box club. It's not like an exclusive or anything, but it came in a book box club, and I just, once again, I don't see myself getting to it. I've put it on a couple of TBRs and just not ended up getting to it. So my new rule is if it's on more than 2 TBRs and I still don't get to it, then it goes. So then we have The Fifth Wave and the Infinite Sea by Rick Yancey. I really like the sound of these because I think they're like dystopian sci-fi type things. However, these were written in a different time, as in these were like when were these? These were like written in like 2014, and I think my time has passed for them. I have seen a few people recently reading them for the first time and have said that if they had read them 10 years ago, or not 10 years, they've not been out for 10 years, but if they had read them when they were first released, they probably would have enjoyed them, but they just don't now. So I just don't see myself getting to them. Next up we have Dream a Little Dream by Giovanna Fletcher. I genuinely think I only picked this up from a charity shop because it's by Giovanna Fletcher. It's not my sort of book. I don't read adult contemporaries. and I just, like, the blurb literally says, Sarah's doing just fine. Sure, she's been single for the last 2 years and has to spend an uncomfortable amount of time around her ex-boyfriend, his perfect new girlfriend, and all their mutual friends. No, that I don't know why I picked it up. It's probably a great book because I've read the books that she has co-written with Tom Fletcher, but this is not my type of book, so I don't know why I picked it up. I'm just gonna like sort of power through some of these. So we have The Flame Never Dies by Rachel Vincent, Blackbird by N.D. Gomez, The Rapture by Liz Jensen, Splinters in Scarlet by Emily Bain Murphy, Goddess of the Sea by P.C. Cast, The Lost Man by Jane Harper, The Blood Print by Azuma Kanat Khan, The New Boy by Paula Rawsthorne, Switched by Amanda Hocking, My Secret YouTube Life by Charlotte Seeger, Who Runs the World by Virginia Bergin, Markborn by Alison Sinclair, The False Princess by Ellis O'Neill, Rivers of London by Ben Aronovich, A Thousand Pieces of You by Claudia Gray, The Jewel by Amy Ewing, Burn for Burn by Jenny Han, Witchborn by Nicholas Bowling, The Retreat by Sherry Smith, The Diabolic by S.J. Kincaid, Heartstream by Tom Pollock, Enchante by Gita Trellis, An Illusion of Thieves by Kate Glass, Elia Oliphant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, Gilded Cage by Vic James, Hero, Monster and Villain by Michael Grant, Under the Never Sky, Into the Still Blue and Through the Evernight by Veronica Rossi, The Midnight Queen and Lady of Magic by Sylvia Hunter, Need, Captivate, Entice and Endure by Carrie Jones, Legend, Prodigy, Champion and Warcross by Marie Lu, The Winter Witch by Paula Braxton, and finally Shatter Me, Unravel Me and Ignite Me by Hari Maffey. These ones I have wanted to get to for a while. However, I again keep putting them off, and the more I hear about the series, the more I think I won't like it. So yeah. So that is everything. I do have a few more books. However, they are ones that I unhauled ages ago and just haven't got round to getting rid of. They have been stuck in a box in our spare room. So yeah, I'm not going to go through those as well. These are just the ones that I have unhauled now. So that's a lot of books. I am going to count them. So going through counting them, I actually forgot to. We have Landline and Attachments by Rainbow Rowell. I think I just don't get on with her contemporary. I much prefer her fantasy. However, saying that, I love Fangirl, but I think it's because it's based around fan fiction, and then the fan fiction world was created in Carry On and Wayward Son, but they're the only Rainbow Rowell books I've enjoyed. So these two are going. So having said that, that is 113 books. How have I miscounted? I need to count again because I've just recounted and it's actually 110, but still, that is insane. I did not realise I had unhauled that many books, but look at me go. However, that is very worrying that I unhauled over 100 books and I still struggled for space. I think I have a problem. Am I going to do anything about that problem? Yes, I'm going to buy more books. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this unhaul. I've never done an unhaul video before. I've done lots of haul videos, but never an unhaul. And you know why that is? Because I don't unhaul books. Maybe I need to start doing that more often. I do have my middle tray of my TBR cart. I have basically decided is going to be my going to unhaul tray, in which sense I will books that I want to read but think I will unhaul once I have read them will go in that tray, and each month I will read at least one book from that tray so that I can sort of clear it a bit. Obviously I may shock myself and I may pick up a book from that, read it and absolutely adore it and end up keeping it, but we'll see. I tend to know my reading tastes when I read a blurb of a book, so you never know. But I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I will see you next time. Bye.